Today we're going to talk about pistol caliber carbines or pistol caliber AR-15s and where they may or may not fit into your gun collection or your use case. Right? So specifically, we're going to talk about the M&P 1522 in its pistol configuration. It's a 22 long rifle, and we'll also talk a little bit about the Cmmg radial delayed blowback system and in 9mm. So mainly, where would one of these firearms fit into your use case? I'm going to suggest that they may work as a supplementation or augmentation to your full-size AR-15. Okay. Now, not a complete replacement for practice with that platform, but kind of supplemental practice for it. So a lot of the skill development on a 5.56 or AR-15 has to do with compensating for the trajectory of the bullet with that platform. So whether that platform includes that rifle length with a specific optic, or that whole setup with a specific round. All right, that practice and that data on previous engagement is specific to that setup. So I'm not suggesting that you replace time on that gun and that setup with one of these two configurations. All right, it's not going to work. The ballistics and the trajectory of these rounds and your compensation for that ballisticness, right, is not going to translate over to your normal 5.56 gun. All right, and that is where you should spend most of your time developing skill, is compensating for the trajectory for the trajectory of that round under different conditions, mainly distances, known and unknown, and then also wind conditions and lighting conditions. All right, and this stuff it's not going to translate over to that platform. However, you may choose to kind of do the manipulation short range stuff with these guns with your 5.56 for a couple reasons. First is price per round. All right, so 5.56 right now, last I saw it, it's going for about $450 to $500 per case. 9mm is going for about $325 per case, $350-ish, and 22 is going for like $100 a case, I think. So that's why. All right, so it's going to be a little cheaper. You can get more reps in with a cheaper round, and those short range manipulation type reps, they will translate over to a full size. So you're saving a little bit of money on that. Second is these calibers, 9mm and 22, specifically let you practice in places that you wouldn't normally be able to with your full 5.56 gun. All right, mainly talking about indoor ranges. Now, some indoor ranges, center fire rifle is fine. However, I know a lot, especially the places I train, where center fire rifle rounds are not permitted. However, 9mm and 22, you can shoot there all day long. All right, so you're going to have some limitations in those facilities, and those limitations may not apply to pistol calibers. Right? Also, so we cover cost, places that allow you to shoot there. Also, just kind of, even if you're not in an indoor range. For instance, I'm at my parents' house right now, and they kind of live on the outskirts of town, so woods all behind me, suburbs that way. All right, so I've got an awesome backdrop. I'm not so much concerned about like rogue rifle rounds, but I am concerned about the noise signature of my practice. Basically, if I spent all day out here shooting rifle rounds, the neighbors would probably complain, may even call the police, and nothing would come of it. Obviously, we're well within our rights, but it's not very considerate of people who live 500 yards that way, right, or 400 yards that way. So for that scenario, suppressed pistol calibers come in pretty handy. Now you can say, well, you can suppress a rifle, sure, and that's definitely better than an unsuppressed rifle. But with rifles, even suppressed, you still have a very distinctive sonic crack, and that just simply doesn't. It's not there if you're using subsonic ammo, and then you suppress it on top of it. I can get away with a lot more in this kind of environment than I could just volume of fire wise with a full house 5.56 AR-15. All right, so let me break it down again. It's cheaper. It lets you practice in places that aren't practical or permitted to use a 5.56. Right? That's kind of the main use case for this. Now, do you have to have one of these? Do you have to have a pistol caliber carbine to fit that little niche of where you can practice and what you should be practicing? I wouldn't say so. You can accomplish most of the manipulation stuff with dry fire, which doesn't make any noise, and it's completely cheap. All right, it's free. You can do that in your basement with your centerfire gun, with your full house 5.56 gun, and not have any issues, and probably get every bit of 85% of what you could with either of these guns. So I'm not saying you need to go buy one of these. I'm just saying if you have one of these and you're kind of having trouble sort of justifying it, then man, I'm your man. I'll help you justify any gun purchase, man. Anyway, so let's talk about these in particular. So this is a Cmmg 9mm upper on a normal 5.56 lower. All right. Now, what's kind of cool about the Cmmg kind of system is they have adapted a way to convert normal PMags to hold 5.56. All right, and that's pretty cool. A couple things. One, if you have registered a lower as a SBR, well, then you can just throw your 9mm upper on there, use your 9mm mags, and you're good to go. All right. Same goes for like if you have like a transferable machine gun that is a registered AR-15 lower, then you could throw 9mm on there. I want to be your friend if that's you. But anyway, so that's kind of cool. You don't have to basically have a whole new gun. You just got to swap out the upper. So that's pretty cool. The other thing I like is the fact that, and it's kind of true, and you see both of these guns, and something I actually really like about these particular guns as it relates to supplementing the practice on a 5.56 gun is the shape of the magazine. All right, especially, I mean, this is a PMag. This is a 5.56 PMag. All right, even the M&P 1522 here uses a normal AR-15 shaped magazine. So that's nice for a couple reasons. One, it fits in kit that was designed for a normal 5.56 magazine. All right, so you can do your normal magazine change drills without any issues. All right, a nice little pro, nice little plus, and it's going to have a lot more muscle memory that will translate over to a 5.56 gun. All right, so that's why I like that shape. Also, it's easier to distinguish what platform you're actually going for reload with. All right, so that's why I do prefer having at least AR-15 shaped magazines when you're trying to supplement practice with an AR-15. Right, makes sense. Okay, so back to my original point. This is a cool system that lets you use AR-15 magazines converted to hold 9mm and work in a normal AR-15 lower with your new 9mm upper. Now, the radial delay blowback is pretty cool as well. It is a lot more similar to the recoil impulse on a 5.56 than, say, a direct blowback 9mm AR. Those are really kind of stout, and they don't really simulate the recoil on a normal AR-15 very well, whereas this radial delay blowback does. Also, it is much more practical to shoot suppressed. All right, I don't have a lot of gas in the face. In fact, this setup is a lot less gassy than my AR-15 with the suppressor on it. So it does keep a lot of that steam and gas and horribleness forward of you, and that's something I definitely appreciate. Now, where the difference between these two firearms, price-wise, this costs as much as a solid AR-15. I think I have about $1,100 in this. That's the lower, that's the upper, that's not the suppressor, and that's not these dangling fence sights. All right, so about $1,100. That's as I could have bought a BCM 5.56 gun with this. So this was kind of a particular use case that I wanted to have and develop, and that's because my range at work is only pistol rated. All right, so I wanted a way to be able to use and get reps on an AR-15 practice, so an AR-15 platform at work using their 9mm ammo. All right, so that's why this kind of works for me. Now, if I weren't in my, if that wasn't me, that wasn't my, that wasn't my situation, then I probably would not have invested in this gun, and would be just as happy with this M&P 1522. All right, one, this is just a really, it's much cheaper. I think they go for about $450 new, and I got this one for $350. Just luck of the draw. They're super light, so if you're trying to train AR-15 manipulations with someone who's kind of got limited upper body strength, you can have a lot more reps without them getting tired on one of these things than a full house AR-15. And with standard velocity ammunition, not even specifically subsonic stuff, this thing is really quiet. Quick example for you here. It sounds, I'm not wearing hearing protection, it's definitely hearing safe. It sounds about like an air gun, maybe an airsoft gun, something like that. Very quiet. I can shoot this in a lot of places that I would not get away with shooting, even something like this. All right, so there's my plug for this. I really think that this is kind of the bee's knees of guns. However, I do have access to 9mm and I do have access to a range, and so you know, that's why I thought it might be worth it to go through this. Just a little sound comparison with subsonic ammunition. As I have loaded here, this is hearing safe, but it's still very loud. You can definitely tell I'm shooting if you're outside on this property. I don't have to necessarily wear hearing protection, but it's loud. Again, demonstration. I will say this has, man, I just talked about how not gassy it is. That one was particularly gassy. I don't know what happened. But it's quiet, it's hearing safe, but definitely a much greater sound signature than the 22. So may not be for you, may not be worth that $1,100 investment. Whereas you could, if you have anything, I would highly recommend picking up one of those, just because even as like even not as a training aid, all right, as just a farm gun, I think this has a lot to offer. All right, you know, my friend has a 1022. Everything that a 1022 can do, this can do it. Look a lot cooler doing it, and also fill in as a training supplementation as well. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. You know, if you have any questions on any of these platforms, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to you. Hope you enjoy this. If you guys want a dedicated video on either one of these, I'd be happy to do it. I just have to kind of pick my time and energy these days to kind of give the people what they want. And when I say people, I mean all 300 something subscribers. One of them's, at least 2 of them are my mom. Anyway, so there's a very small audience here. So if you guys want something kind of particular, feel free to to drop a suggestion. I'll get right on. Anyway, thanks. Take care, guys. Stay safe, and I appreciate you guys watching.